Hi, today I want to create a live stream. Yeah, so an unexpected, accidentally live stream. It's Sunday on my side. And the topic will be use of Quarkus Security OpenID Connect multi-tenancy in an own small example. I already wrote a blog post about that topic, and I wanted to talk about that blog post a bit and show how the implementation is, because I like it and it gave me a lot of insights to different technologies, and yeah, I like it. Let me start. What was the objective with that example? Maybe you noticed that I already created some examples around Keycloak in the cloud native starter example area with authentication and so on. So that was my starting point, and we had some discussions around multi-tenancy, and this was a starting point that I wanted to check out these Quarkus Security OpenID Connect multi-tenancy in this example. So what I already did, because I invested time to that. So that was my objective. So that I wanted to start with a very simple microservices-based application for multi-tenancy implementation. And I want to start with a thing I already did, as you can see here. The example is based on that code. You can follow these different blog posts where you find the starting point of that code. There are two different starting points. One is with the microservices application with code engine. So I already used that example, and here also in another context. So the use case definition. There was first a short use case definition, so how it should appear, yeah, how the usage should be. And keep in mind, everything is only implemented as an example on a local machine. You run it, and has not the intention really to be a template for everything. It's just dig into the technology and understand a bit how it works. So the basic flow, so therefore I already recorded and GIF. The basic flow is that you insert an email address, and based on that email address, on the domain of the email address, you will be routed to a web application, and this web application will directly route you to your identity and access management provider. And the identity and access management provider will provide the login form. You can insert your valid credentials, and then everything should work. You will get the authentication information, so that the application has an access token later on, and there are information about the identity, and then after all this is done, you will granted access to backend applications, microservices, and articles will be shown. So that is shown in that simple GIFs, as you can see. And here's a little bit more about the architecture you can see here. So that is here, you will here, let us wait until the GIF starts once again. Okay. So we will we will open up the first web application, which select the tenant. The tenant will register here and provides the login dialog, and then the rest, as you can see, the microservices will use, and here I use the implementation of the Quarkus security, Openid Connect multitenancy. So by the way, the example is already implemented to use Openid. Yeah. So what I only needed to do in Coda is just to use the existing example of Quarkus and apply it to my needs, and understand a bit how it concrete works, so that at least the Quarkus security, let me go up once again here, Quarkus security Openid Connect multitenancy, yeah, let us open up it in a new browser. It mainly does one thing. It routes you to a right endpoint of, or not, based on an endpoint you give, you can configure the right access to the identity and access management system with Openid Connect configurations. Yeah, we will see here in the later on in the implementation what I use. So that is here what I do, where I do the configuration. Yeah, and more or less, yes, that's all. It's reacting on endpoint definitions and configure based on that endpoint definition the right. Here in my case, when I use Quarkus, to the right RAM. Yes, that's all. Here's also the the description of all that port stuff. I will show you the source code in a few moments. Yeah, so that is what happens. And here you can see the realization, a little bit about the front end. Needs to be variable for different domains. That is, is just implemented with a very, very simple extraction of the domain information. And you can see here. So I also did an implementation for usage of cloud and database, but I do not really use it in an out-of-the-box configuration when I started on my local machine, because I also want to give you the ability, if you want to, if you try out that example, not to set up too many things. Yeah, these are the technologies. And I also provide some details here about how I did the implementation more concrete here, and what are the classes. And with that, I want to start to take a look at the code. Yeah. So let's start to take a look at the code. The code you can find also on the GitHub project. So moving up, where is the GitHub project? Yeah, it's under construction. Yeah, and I do not know will I really working on that continuously. Yeah, so let's see. I did some changes in the past. Oh, today, I remember something. I also checked out on a different branch other configuration, and you can see that's here, that's under construction. And I like to document or to do my documentation with mkdocs. It's awesome because it makes it more readable and more navigable. So, and here you can see more or less the same information which I already gave here in my blog post. So with all that in mind, now going back to the implementation. So here you see the project. I use the Visual Studio Code for the implementation, as my environment. And as I said, the starting point for this project was the source code of different other projects I already did with the same example, just to focus on the changes I have to make. Okay, with all that in mind, we have here these different applications, as I said, 3 web applications implemented in Vue.js, and we have 2 microservices-based applications. And important to understand is when you use here with the Openid Connect in context of Quarkus, you get the ability to configure here default tenant configurations. Yeah. And as you can see, I commented everything out, because what I also noticed by myself, you do not really need this if you use this class, and you can maybe define, because what I haven't done here, I haven't done really the externalization so that everything runs in a container. And I hard-coded some information inside the class. So that means here, when I go to the, where is it? Here's the multi-tenant resolver, as you can see here. Here I hard-coded the configuration for the Keycloak RAM. And with that, yeah, you are totally free not to use also the default configuration, because you can read what you want, at least from this configuration file, and define your own ones. Yeah. It's good to have a default one, yeah, but you are free to do that, and I like that. Okay, and here are the web applications implemented in Vue.js, as I said. Here is also the possibility to make them externalize with the external variables, which can be stored here. So you know, when you want to start your web application in a container, yeah, your web application runs in a browser, and with that, you need a place where to store all these links and so on, and where to get these links related to for your usage inside your web application. So that's one possible way to do that. So I also wrote different blog posts for that topics. If you want to dig into that, maybe I will post these later on into the description. Okay, let me move on. So I now will start the entire application with the configuration. You can see here the CE folder contains different bash scripts. I like to write bash scripts. The reason is to avoid typos and so on. And if you made a typo, it is a consistent typo, and you can find more easily the solution. I'm maybe not so fast in writing. Here I created a bash script which starts all needed applications in a right way, in the right configuration. Yes, you can. If you are interested how that works, you can just dig into that bash script. Here you can see how I organized different the different scripts. Yeah, so I can also use that different scripts to start the application in their own instances. What was cool to know, you can pass over the information where to start to the open command for the terminal, yeah, with that. And then you have also the right path, and that is a good way to start different bash scripts. Do the rest of the work. when I move on with that. Yeah, by the way, it's always bash scripting when you do some implementations, when you want to automate that. Yeah, a lot of text. So here's bash, and so like now start tenant local, and let us see what happens. And maybe the terminals will be started on my side here on my computer. My computer, I mean on my desktop. And yeah, let's see. So here, yeah, they started here. Cannot see it now. Yeah, these are the different tasks. Yeah. I haven't wrote this in my blog post. You can see this in the documentation. When you take a look at the documentation, I also wrote how the start works. Now I started for each application an own terminal, and one terminal is only for the configuration for Keycloak. The reason for that is I need 2 RAMs, and I want to upload the configuration for these RAMs. And in addition, I need to upload an user for 1 RAM, that's the RAM B, where I also have to use have to implement a role mapping, which was not possible for me to directly upload it from scratch. Yeah, because I don't want to follow the entire steps to fully export a Quarkus Keycloak RAM, including all information of users and role informations and so on. Okay, let us see. You can see now here. This was here. Start configure. Yeah, it runs. So, and different microservices are running. So, and now let me see. Here is, so I have to start it once again. I forgot. That's always the same, because the container for Keycloak runs in Docker, and I forgot to start it. And what it's interesting, yeah, you can see. I should have read it, yeah, because I see that nothing happens here, so I have to stop everything, because Keycloak cannot be configured if Keycloak doesn't run. So the entire example will not run. So I have to close the terminals once again. You can see here, yeah. Currently no image is here, so now it runs. So once again, so I want also to close that. So now here I start it again. Okay. And now yeah, we see, yeah. Container where we started. The application is already here. By the way, when I use that, I also ensure that they're starting in the right direction. You can see there are different ports, and when you start a Vue application, it just takes the next port. So the first application I started was with port 8080, then it starts with port 8081, and then it starts with port 8082. Okay, so there are 2 Quarkus applications are running. Yeah, the Keycloak is running here. And the best script for here for the configuration of the Keycloak waits a little bit. Now you can see here just the configuration, and here I need to take a look into the configuration of the Keycloak. So here's admin. So, and now we can see here we have the different configurations for the tenants. Here, that's the front-end configuration, which is given. We have here the roles, the role user. Yeah, the role user will be mapped to the user. You can see here the user Alice. Yeah? The default example user when you do examples in Quarkus, you maybe remember. Yeah, and then we take a look into the B configuration, and here in the B configuration you can see here that's my uploaded user, and I also did the role mapping here, so that assigned role, the user role, and that happened in the script. Okay, with that in mind, now we take a look in to the application. So now I log on as, where are we? Alice. And call it clock.de. So that's the DE should be the first tenant. Yeah. I send it. So I'm routed to the first tenant, as you can see here. And then I say Alice. So if I have no typo, and you can see here, yeah, everything works, and you can verify what happens here also in the shells. Yeah, it's a little bit small. I know, can I do it directly? The view, make it bigger. Maybe it helps a little bit to see it, but it's not possible to see it even more bigger. What you see here in a custom tenant resolver, first I show what I got on information, and then I do the configuration after the information I got, that here the resolver knows with the extraction of the invocation of the microservice web API, that the REST endpoint articles was invoked. Yeah, and then I configured the right tenant, yeah, for the usage in Keycloak, and then I can get the token information, and I show some content of the token later. So you can see here that is the configuration I do for what I will be, what I do configure, yeah. And then I will invoke the articles, which is implemented in the same way as the web API microservice. And then I get the information from that microservice. So that is the implementation. Let us take a look into the code. So you can see here, this is what I'm doing, yeah, following the guidance of the Quarkus example. Here I set the right configuration information for the tenant information and the RAM and so on, and what I have configured for these microservices with the what is the client ID and secrets and so on. Yeah, and with that it is very easy just to configure it. Yeah, the next is in the access of the next microservice. I define two different clients, yeah, and depending on which REST endpoint was invoked on my side, so I will use the right client to get the articles information, and the implementation on the article side itself is done in the same way. So here are some less classes, so it makes more worse. You can see it's the same, it works in the same way. Here I have still some configurations with when I would use the cloud database, but I do not use the cloud database. Yeah, and it's the same here. Though it examines which REST endpoint is invoked, yeah, and sets the right tenant information. So that is a straightforward of that. And what is interesting a little bit, I think, is here what I do in the first step is where is it? Here. Yeah, here I extract the domain, so from the email address. Yeah, there's a lot of additional, or there are a lot of additional topics to understand. Yeah, so that was a more or less a very fast walkthrough to everything. Yeah, and if you want to get or to dig deeper in all that topics, I would recommend different blog posts I did for sure. These blog posts, and take a look also in the projects, but also for the authentication and authorization implementation of Keycloak and microprofile, maybe that blog post. And what I also like, yeah, on that way is the implementation of the externalization. Yeah, so that means when we have here look at the Quarkus. So yeah, you can take a look when I did the implementation for the containerization of that microservices. Then you can see here how I did it. Yeah, this was the configuration with Quarkus. That was all. So thanks for watching, and hopefully it was a little bit useful for you, and let's see what's next. Have a nice Sunday, yeah. And I say bye, and I will stop this streaming now.